High above the world, where the sky blushes with the first light of dawn and the stars linger just a little longer, there exists a place few have ever seen. It is neither on the ground nor quite among the clouds, but somewhere in between. A hidden workshop nestled atop a floating island, drifting gently on the morning breeze. This is the Cloudmaker's workshop, a place of gentle magic and quiet wonder. Here, clouds are not merely born from the whims of weather, but are carefully crafted by skilled hands and loving hearts. Each cloud, whether a wispy cirrus, a billowing cumulus, or a silvery nimbus, begins its life in this enchanted place, shaped from the softest threads of mist and the faintest whispers of dreams. The workshop is tended by an old cloud maker named Orin, whose beard is as white as the clouds he weaves, and whose eyes twinkle with the memory of 1,000 dawns. Orin's days are spent spinning, stitching, and shaping clouds, sending them out into the world to bring shade, rain, and wonder to those below. But Orin is not alone. One day, a curious child named Lila, with a heart full of questions and a mind full of dreams, stumbles upon the workshop. Her arrival marks the beginning of a gentle adventure, one that will reveal the secrets of the sky, the art of cloud making, and the quiet magic that connects all things. The Cloudmaker's workshop is a story of discovery, kindness, and the beauty of small wonders. It is a tale to be read slowly, savored like a lullaby, and carried into the softest corners of sleep. Lila had always been a curious child. She was the sort who would follow a butterfly for hours or sit by the window on rainy days, tracing the paths of raindrops as they raced down the glass. She loved the sky most of all, the way it changed from blue to gold to violet, the way clouds drifted and danced, sometimes shaped like ships or dragons or castles. She wondered where the clouds came from, and if anyone ever made them on purpose. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the world in honeyed light, Lila wandered farther from home than she ever had before. She followed a narrow path through the tall grass, her feet brushing against wildflowers and her mind full of daydreams. The air was cool and sweet, and the sky above was a canvas of soft pink and lavender, streaked with the last rays of sunlight. As she walked, Lila noticed something strange, a shimmer in the air, like the heat that rises from a summer road, but gentler, almost inviting. She reached out, her fingers tingling as they passed through the shimmer, and suddenly the world changed. The ground beneath her feet felt lighter, almost buoyant, and the air was filled with the scent of rain and something sweet, like spun sugar. Lila looked around in wonder. She was standing on a small island, floating high above the world. Below her, fields and forests stretched out like a patchwork quilt, and above, the sky seemed close enough to touch. At the center of the island stood a workshop, its walls made of pale wood, and its roof covered in silvery tiles that glimmered in the fading light. Wisps of mist curled around the windows, and a gentle hum drifted from within, like the sound of a lullaby sung by the wind. Lila's heart fluttered with excitement and a little fear. She took a deep breath, the air cool and clean, and walked toward the workshop. The door was slightly ajar, and as she pushed it open, a bell chimed softly, as if welcoming her. Inside, the workshop was a wonderland of gentle chaos. Spools of silvery thread lined the shelves, and baskets overflowed with tufts of mist and puffs of cloud. There were tools of every shape and size, spindles and needles, brushes and combs, all designed for the delicate art of cloud making. In the center of the room stood a large wooden table, its surface covered in sketches of clouds and jars of sparkling dew. And there, hunched over the table, was an old man with a beard as white as snow and eyes that twinkled like stars. He wore a long blue coat covered in patches shaped like clouds, and his hands moved with gentle precision as he spun a thread of mist between his fingers. He looked up as Lila entered, his eyes crinkling with a smile. "Ah, a visitor," he said, his voice warm and soft. "It's been a long time since anyone found their way here." Lila hesitated, unsure if she should speak, but the old man's smile was kind, and the workshop felt safe, like a place out of a dream. "Hello," she said quietly. "I'm Lila. Where am I?" The old man set down his work and gestured for her to come closer. "You're in the Cloudmaker's workshop," he said. "My name is Orin. I make the clouds you see in the sky." Lila's eyes widened. "You make the clouds? All of them?" Orin chuckled, a sound like the rustle of leaves. "Not all by myself. The sky is a big place, and there are other workshops, other cloudmakers. But this is my little corner of the world, and I do my part." Lila looked around, her gaze lingering on a basket filled with tiny, shimmering clouds. "How do you do it?" she asked. "How do you make a cloud?" Orin's eyes sparkled. "Would you like to see?" Lila nodded eagerly, and Orin beckoned her to the table. He picked up a handful of mist, soft and cool, and spun it between his fingers, drawing it out into a fine silvery thread. He wound the thread around a spindle, humming softly as he worked. Then he took a brush and gently fluffed the thread, shaping it into a small, puffy cloud. "It starts with mist," Orin explained. "The purest kind, gathered from the highest mountains and the quietest valleys. Then I spin it into thread, weave it into shape, and add a touch of dew for sparkle. Each cloud is different. Some are light and wispy, others thick and heavy with rain." Lila watched in awe as Orin finished the cloud and set it gently in a basket. "What happens to them?" she asked. "When they're ready, I send them out into the world," Orin said. "Some bring rain to thirsty fields, others shade to sleepy villages, and some just drift, bringing beauty to the sky." Lila reached out and touched the cloud. It was cool and soft, like a handful of feathers. She smiled, feeling a sense of wonder she had never known before. Orin watched her with a gentle smile. "Would you like to help me make a cloud?" he asked. Lila's eyes lit up. "Oh, yes, please." Orin handed her a tuft of mist and showed her how to spin it into thread. Her fingers fumbled at first, but Orin was patient, guiding her with gentle words and steady hands. Together they spun and shaped the mist, adding a sprinkle of dew and a whisper of wind. As they worked, Orin told Lila stories of the clouds he had made, of a cloud shaped like a dragon that had once floated over a distant mountain, of a rain cloud that had saved a village from drought, of a cloud so light it had danced with the stars. Lila listened, her heart full of wonder. She felt as if she had stepped into a dream, a place where magic was real and anything was possible. As the sky outside deepened to indigo and the first stars appeared, Orin set their finished cloud in the basket. "You did well, Lila," he said. "You have the hands of a cloudmaker." Lila beamed with pride. She looked out the window, watching as the clouds drifted across the night sky, and wondered what other secrets the workshop held. The workshop grew quieter as night settled over the floating island. Outside, the world below was a patchwork of silver and shadow, and the sky above was scattered with stars. Lila felt as if she were floating in a dream, suspended between earth and sky, between waking and sleep. Orin moved about the workshop with practiced ease, lighting a lantern that glowed with a gentle golden light. The flame flickered softly, casting warm shadows on the walls and making the jars of dew sparkle like tiny stars. Lila watched him, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Cloud-making is an old art," Orin said, returning to the table. "It's been passed down from one cloud-maker to the next for as long as anyone can remember. Each of us learns a little more, adds a little something new, and then teaches it to someone else." Lila traced her finger along the edge of the table, feeling the smooth wood beneath her hand. "How did you learn?" she asked. Orin smiled, his eyes distant with memory. "I was much like you, a curious child who wandered a little too far one day and found myself here. The cloudmaker before me was a woman named Mira. She taught me everything I know. She said the sky is always changing and so must we." He reached for a small blue jar and opened it, releasing a cool, fresh scent. "This is mountain mist," he explained. "It's the softest, purest kind, perfect for making gentle clouds that drift on the breeze." Lila leaned in, breathing in the scent. It reminded her of early mornings when the world was quiet and new. "And the dew?" she asked, pointing to a row of tiny glass bottles, each filled with sparkling drops. "Dew is the secret ingredient," Orin said, his voice low and conspiratorial. "It gives the clouds their shimmer, their magic. Each drop is gathered at dawn, when the world is still and the air is full of promise." He handed Lila a bottle, and she held it up to the lantern light. The dew inside glowed with a soft, silvery light, like moonbeams caught in a jar. "Would you like to try making a cloud of your own?" Orin asked. Lila nodded eagerly, her heart fluttering with excitement. Orin guided her to a small spinning wheel, its surface smooth and worn from years of use. He showed her how to feed the mist onto the spindle, turning it slowly to draw out a fine, silvery thread. Lila's hands trembled at first, but Orin's gentle encouragement gave her confidence. She spun the thread, feeling the cool mist slip through her fingers, and then wound it into a soft, fluffy ball. "Now, shape it," Orin said, handing her a tiny brush. "Clouds can be anything you imagine. A ship, a castle, a dragon. What will yours be?" Lila thought for a moment, then began to shape the cloud with careful strokes. She imagined a gentle lamb, soft and round, drifting across the sky. She brushed and fluffed the cloud, adding a sprinkle of dew for sparkle and a whisper of wind to give it life. When she was finished, she held up her creation for Orin to see. He smiled, his eyes twinkling. "A cloud lamb," he said. "Very fine work, Lila. The sky will be lucky to have it." Lila beamed with pride, feeling a warmth in her chest that she had never known before. She set the cloud lamb in the basket with the others, watching as it nestled among the puffs of mist. Orin poured 2 cups of warm, sweet tea from a kettle that seemed to have appeared from nowhere. He handed one to Lila, and they sat together at the table, sipping in comfortable silence. After a while, Lila spoke. "Do you ever get lonely up here?" she asked softly. Orin looked at her, his expression thoughtful. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but the sky is never truly empty. There are always clouds to make, stars to watch, and sometimes visitors like you." He smiled, and Lila felt a sense of belonging, as if she had found a place she never knew she was missing. "Will I be able to come back?" she asked, her voice small. Orin nodded. "The workshop finds those who need it. If your heart is open and your mind is curious, you'll always be able to find your way here." Lila finished her tea, feeling sleep tug at her eyelids. Orin led her to a small bed in the corner of the workshop, piled high with soft cloud-like blankets. She climbed in, the covers cool and comforting, and closed her eyes. As she drifted off to sleep, she heard Orin humming softly, the sound blending with the gentle hum of the workshop. She dreamed of floating islands and drifting clouds, of spinning mist and sparkling dew, and of a sky filled with endless possibilities. When she woke, the workshop was bathed in the soft light of dawn. Orin was already at work, spinning a new thread of mist, his hands moving with quiet purpose. Lila stretched and yawned, feeling rested and content. She joined Orin at the table, eager to learn more. "There's much to see and do," Orin said, handing her a fresh tuft of mist. "Today, I'll show you how to make a rain cloud." Lila's eyes sparkled with excitement. She took the mist and began to spin, ready for another day in the Cloudmaker's workshop. The morning in the Cloudmaker's workshop was filled with a gentle, purposeful energy. Sunlight filtered through the windows, casting golden patterns on the floor and making the jars of dew glimmer like tiny rainbows. Lila felt a sense of anticipation as she joined Orin at the work table, eager to learn the next secret of cloud making. Orin greeted her with a warm smile. "Good morning, Lila. Did you sleep well?" Lila nodded, her eyes bright. "I dreamed of clouds and stars and floating islands. It was wonderful." Orin chuckled, his beard twitching with amusement. "Dreams are important for cloudmakers. They help us imagine new shapes and colors for the sky." He reached for a large, round jar filled with a darker, heavier mist than Lila had seen before. "Today, we'll make a rain cloud. These are a bit trickier than the gentle clouds we made yesterday." Lila watched as Orin carefully opened the jar. The mist inside was cool and dense, swirling with shades of gray and blue. It smelled of distant storms and fresh earth, a scent that made Lila think of summer afternoons when rain pattered on the roof and the world felt safe and small. "Rain clouds begin with storm mist," Orin explained. "It's gathered from the edges of thunderstorms, where the air is thick with promise. We have to be gentle with it, or it can get unruly." He handed Lila a small scoop, and together they measured out a handful of the storm mist. Lila noticed that it felt heavier than the mountain mist, almost as if it carried the weight of 1,000 raindrops. "Now we spin it into thread, just as before," Orin said, demonstrating with slow, careful movements. "But we must keep the thread tight and strong, so it can hold the rain." Lila followed his lead, her fingers working steadily as she spun the storm mist into a thick, silvery thread. It took more effort than before, and she had to concentrate to keep the thread from unraveling. Orin watched her with patient eyes, offering gentle encouragement. When the thread was ready, Orin showed her how to wind it into a dense, rounded shape. "Rain clouds need to be full and heavy," he said. "They carry water for the fields and forests below." He reached for a tiny silver spoon and dipped it into a jar of dew, this one labeled Morning Tears. The dew was cool and clear, with a faint blue shimmer. Orin sprinkled it over the cloud, and Lila watched as the droplets sank in, making the cloud glisten. Each drop of dew becomes a raindrop, Orin explained. The more dew we add, the more rain the cloud will carry. But we must be careful not to add too much, or the cloud will burst before it reaches the ground. Lila nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration as she added a few drops of dew to her own rain cloud. She watched as the cloud grew heavier, its color deepening to a rich, stormy gray. Now we add a whisper of wind, Orin said, taking a small, feathered fan and waving it gently over the cloud. The cloud shivered, as if waking from a long sleep, and a faint rumble echoed through the workshop. Lila giggled, delighted by the sound. It's like a tiny thunderstorm. Orin smiled. Exactly. Rain clouds are full of energy. They need to be handled with care. He showed Lila how to tuck the finished rain cloud into a special basket lined with soft, absorbent cloth. We let them rest here until they are ready to be sent out, he said. When the time is right, we open the window and let the wind carry them away. Lila looked at the basket, filled with clouds of every shape and size, some light and fluffy, others dark and heavy with rain. She felt a sense of pride, knowing she had helped create something that would bring life to the world below. As they worked, Orin told her stories of famous rain clouds, of the great storm that had watered a desert garden, of the gentle drizzle that had lulled a village to sleep, of the rainbow that had followed a summer shower. Every cloud has a purpose, Orin said. Some bring rain, some bring shade, some simply drift and inspire daydreams. The sky would be empty without them. Lila thought about the clouds she had seen from her window at home, the ones that looked like animals or castles, the ones that turned gold at sunset, the ones that brought rain to her garden. She realized that each one had begun its journey in a place like this, shaped by hands like hers. Oh, when the rain clouds were finished, Orin led Lila to a wide window that overlooked the world below. The view was breathtaking. Fields and forests, rivers and mountains, all bathed in the soft light of morning. The sky was dotted with clouds, some drifting lazily, others racing on the wind. Orin opened the window and a gentle breeze filled the workshop. He lifted a rain cloud from the basket and held it out to Lila. Would you like to send it on its way? Lila nodded, her heart pounding with excitement. She cradled the rain cloud in her hands, feeling its cool weight, and then released it into the breeze. The cloud floated out the window, rising higher and higher until it joined its brothers and sisters in the sky. Lila watched as the cloud drifted away, growing smaller and smaller until it was just a speck on the horizon. She felt a sense of wonder and accomplishment, knowing she had helped bring rain to the world below. Orin closed the window and turned to Lila, his eyes shining. You did well, Lila. You have the heart of a Cloudmaker. Lila smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. She knew she would never look at the sky the same way again. After sending her first rain cloud into the world, Lila felt a new sense of belonging in the workshop. The day unfolded gently, with Orin showing her more of the tools and treasures that filled the cozy space. Every shelf and drawer seemed to hold a secret. Jars of golden sunlight, tiny vials of rainbow mist, and even a box of thunder pebbles that rattled softly when shaken. As the morning wore on, Orin led Lila to a tall, narrow cabinet in the corner of the workshop. Its doors were carved with swirling patterns that looked like wind and waves. Orin opened the cabinet with a small silver key, revealing a collection of large, leather-bound books. Each one was embossed with a different cloud shape on its cover. "This," Orin said, lifting out the largest book, "is the Cloud Atlas. It holds the stories and secrets of every cloud ever made in this workshop." Lila's eyes widened as Orin set the atlas on the table and opened it. The pages were thick and creamy, filled with beautiful illustrations and careful notes written in looping, elegant script. There were sketches of clouds in every shape and size, towering thunderheads, delicate wisps, and even clouds shaped like animals and ships. Orin turned the pages slowly, letting Lila admire the drawings. "Each cloud is unique," he explained. "We record its shape, its purpose, and the day it was sent into the world. Some clouds are remembered for the rain they brought, others for the shade or the beauty they added to the sky." Lila traced her finger over a drawing of a cloud shaped like a swan, its wings outstretched as if gliding across the sky. "Did you make this one?" she asked. Orin nodded, a fond smile on his lips. "That was many years ago. It drifted over a lake at sunset and inspired a poet to write a song. Clouds touch more lives than we ever know." He showed her how to make an entry in the atlas. Together, they drew a picture of the cloud lamb Lila had made the night before, carefully noting the date and the special dew they had used. Lila felt a thrill of pride as she wrote her name beside Orin's in the margin. "Now your cloud will be remembered," Orin said. "Long after it has drifted away, its story will remain." They spent the next hour paging through the atlas, reading stories of remarkable clouds. There was the midnight veil, a cloud so dark and soft it had blanketed a village in peaceful sleep. The sunbeam spiral, a cloud that had caught the morning light and scattered it in 1,000 directions. And the rainbow bridge, a rare cloud that had carried the colors of a double rainbow across the sky. Lila was enchanted by the stories. She realized that cloud making was not just about spinning mist and shaping dew. It was about creating moments of wonder for the world below. As they closed the atlas, Orin looked at Lila with a thoughtful expression. "Would you like to try making a special cloud? One that will be remembered in the atlas?" Lila's heart leapt. "Yes, please, but what kind of cloud should I make?" Orin smiled. "That is for you to decide. Think about what the world might need. A cloud for comfort, for inspiration, for laughter." Lila thought for a long moment. She remembered the times she had watched the sky from her window, wishing for a sign or a story. She wanted to make a cloud that would bring hope to anyone who saw it. "I want to make a cloud that looks like a heart," she said softly, "so that anyone who sees it will remember they are loved." Orin's eyes shone with approval. "A beautiful idea, Lila. Let's gather what we need." They selected the softest mountain mist, the brightest morning dew, and a pinch of sunlight from a golden jar. Orin showed Lila how to spin the mist into a delicate, airy thread, and together they shaped it into a perfect heart. Lila brushed the cloud gently, adding a swirl at the top and a little curl at the bottom, so it would be easy to spot in the sky. When the cloud was finished, Orin handed Lila a tiny bottle of rose-scented dew. "For a touch of comfort," he said. Lila sprinkled the dew over the heart-shaped cloud, watching as it shimmered with a soft pink glow. She felt a sense of joy and peace, knowing that her cloud would bring a message of love to the world below. They made a careful entry in the Cloud Atlas, drawing the heart-shaped cloud and writing its story in the margin. "A cloud to remind all who see it that they are loved. When the time came, Lila carried the cloud to the window. The sky was a brilliant blue, dotted with puffs of white and streaks of gold. She released the heart-shaped cloud into the breeze, watching as it floated higher and higher, catching the sunlight and glowing softly. Orin stood beside her, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. "You've made something wonderful, Lila. The world is a little brighter because of you." Lila smiled, her heart full. She watched her cloud drift away, knowing that somewhere someone would look up and feel a little less alone. The days in the Cloudmaker's workshop began to settle into a gentle rhythm. Each morning, Lila awoke to the soft glow of dawn and the comforting hum of Orin at work. She learned to spin mist into thread with nimble fingers, to brush clouds into shapes both familiar and fantastical, and to add just the right amount of dew for sparkle or rain. The workshop became a world of its own, suspended between earth and sky, where time seemed to move at the pace of drifting clouds. One afternoon, as Lila was carefully shaping a cloud to look like a sleeping fox, a sudden gust of wind rattled the windows. The breeze was sharper than usual, carrying with it the scent of distant mountains and wildflowers. Orin looked up from his work, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "That's the east wind," he murmured. "It doesn't visit often." Before Lila could ask what he meant, the door to the workshop swung open with a flourish. In swept a figure wrapped in a cloak of shimmering blue and silver, her hair wild and her cheeks flushed from the wind. She carried a satchel slung over one shoulder, and her eyes sparkled with mischief and wisdom. "Orin!" she called, her voice like the ringing of tiny bells. "Still making clouds the old-fashioned way, I see." Orin's face broke into a wide grin. "Mira, it's been too long." Lila watched in awe as the two embraced. Mira was tall and graceful, with a presence that seemed to fill the room. She looked around the workshop, her gaze landing on Lila. "And who is this?" Mira asked, her eyes twinkling. "This is Lila," Orin said proudly. "She's learning the art of cloud making." Mira knelt beside Lila, her cloak swirling around her like a breeze. "A new apprentice! How wonderful! Have you made any clouds yet?" Lila nodded shyly. "I made a cloud lamb, a rain cloud, and a heart-shaped cloud." Mira clapped her hands in delight. "A heart-shaped cloud! That's a rare gift. The world needs more of those." She stood and looked around the workshop, her eyes lingering on the baskets of finished clouds and the open cloud atlas. "Orin, you've kept the place just as I remember, but I see you've added a few new tricks." Orin chuckled. "We try to keep up with the times. Lila has a knack for shaping clouds with feeling. She made a cloud for hope just yesterday." Mira's expression softened. "That's the most important kind of cloud. Sometimes a single hopeful cloud can change someone's whole day." She reached into her satchel and pulled out a small, swirling jar. Inside, a miniature whirlwind spun, sparkling with flecks of gold and silver. "I've brought something for you both, a gift from the east wind." Orin took the jar with reverence. "East wind mist," he said, his voice full of wonder. "This is rare indeed." Mira nodded. "It's gathered from the highest peaks, where the wind sings and the sky is clear. It makes clouds that can travel farther and faster than any other." Lila's eyes widened. "Can we make a cloud with it?" Mira smiled. "Of course, but east wind mist is tricky. It's restless and wild. You have to listen to it, let it guide your hands." Together, the three of them prepared the work table. Mira showed Lila how to open the jar carefully, letting just a wisp of the east wind mist escape. It danced and twirled in the air, shimmering with energy. "Let's make a cloud that can carry a wish," Mira suggested. "A cloud that will travel the world, gathering hopes and dreams wherever it goes." Lila's heart fluttered with excitement. She watched as Mira spun the mist into a fine, silvery thread, her hands moving with practiced grace. Oren added a drop of golden dew, and Lila brushed the cloud into a shape that looked like a tiny boat, ready to sail the skies. When the cloud was finished, Mira whispered a wish into its heart. Oren and Lila did the same, each adding their own silent hope. The cloud shimmered with a soft, golden light, as if it carried a secret. Mira carried the cloud to the window and released it into the breeze. The east wind caught it at once, lifting it high into the sky. The cloud boat sailed away, growing smaller and smaller until it was just a glimmer on the horizon. Lila watched it go, feeling a sense of wonder and possibility. "Where will it go?" she asked. Mira smiled. "Wherever it's needed most. That's the magic of the east wind." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of rose and gold, the three Cloudmakers sat together, sharing stories and laughter. Lila listened to Mira's tales of distant lands and wild skies, her imagination soaring with every word. That night, as Lila drifted off to sleep beneath her cloud-soft blankets, she dreamed of riding the east wind, her heart full of hope and adventure. The next morning, the workshop was alive with a new energy. Mira's presence seemed to have stirred the very air, and Lila awoke to the sound of laughter and the scent of something sweet baking in the oven. She hurried to the kitchen corner, where Oren was pulling out a tray of cloudberry scones, their tops golden and steaming. "Good morning, Lila," Mira called, already at the work table, her hands busy sorting through jars of colored mist. "We have a special lesson today, one that only the wind can teach." Lila's eyes sparkled with curiosity as she joined them. Oren handed her a warm scone, and she nibbled it as Mira explained. "Cloud making isn't just about shaping mist and dew," Mira said, her voice gentle. "It's about listening to the wind, to the world below, and to your own heart. The wind carries stories, secrets, and sometimes even messages from those who need a cloud the most." She opened a window, letting in a playful breeze that danced around the workshop, ruffling papers and making the lanterns sway. Mira closed her eyes, listening intently. "Today, we'll learn to hear what the wind is saying." Oren nodded. "Every Cloudmaker must learn this. The wind will tell you where your clouds are needed, sometimes in places you'd never expect." Lila closed her eyes, trying to listen as Mira did. At first, all she heard was the soft rustle of leaves and the distant call of a bird. But as she focused, she began to sense something more, a faint whisper, like a song carried from far away. Mira smiled as if she could sense Lila's discovery. "What do you hear, Lila?" Lila hesitated, then spoke softly. "It's like a wish. Someone hoping for rain, and someone else wishing for a sunny day." Mira nodded approvingly. "Exactly. The wind carries the hopes and needs of the world. Sometimes it's a farmer waiting for rain. Other times it's a child hoping for a sunny picnic. Our job is to listen and send the right cloud at the right time." Oren brought over a special map. A great swirling chart of the world below, with tiny markers that glowed and shifted as the wind changed. "This is the wind map," he explained. "It shows us where clouds are needed most." Lila watched as a marker glowed bright blue over a small village. "That's where the wish for rain is coming from," Mira said. "Let's make a gentle rain cloud for them." Together they gathered the materials: a scoop of storm mist, a sprinkle of morning dew, and a touch of cool mountain air. Mira showed Lila how to spin the mist into a strong, steady thread, perfect for holding raindrops. Oren added a few drops of dew, and Lila shaped the cloud into a soft, rounded form. As they worked, Mira encouraged Lila to keep listening to the wind. "Let it guide your hands," she said. "Imagine the fields below, thirsty for rain. Imagine the joy when the first drops fall." Lila closed her eyes, picturing the village: fields of golden wheat, gardens waiting for water, children watching the sky with hope. She brushed the cloud gently, adding a swirl here and a puff there, until it felt just right. When the cloud was finished, they carried it to the window. Mira whispered a blessing, and Oren released the cloud into the breeze. The wind caught it, carrying it swiftly toward the glowing marker on the map. Lila watched as the cloud drifted away, feeling a deep sense of connection to the world below. She realized that cloud making was more than just a craft. It was a way of caring for others, of answering silent wishes and bringing comfort where it was needed most. As the day went on, they listened to the wind again and again, sending clouds to distant mountains, quiet forests, and bustling towns. Each time, Lila felt her heart grow lighter, as if she were part of something vast and wonderful. Later, as the sun began to set, Mira gathered Lila and Oren by the window. The sky was painted with streaks of pink and gold, and the clouds they had made drifted peacefully across the horizon. "You're learning quickly, Lila," Mira said, her voice full of pride. "You have the gift of listening, a rare and precious skill for a cloudmaker." Lila smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. She looked out at the sky, knowing that somewhere someone was looking up and smiling at a cloud she had made. That night, as she lay in her soft bed, Lila listened to the wind outside the window. She heard its gentle song, full of stories and wishes, and she knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. The days in the Cloudmaker's workshop passed in a gentle, golden blur. Lila learned to listen to the wind, to read the shifting patterns on the wind map, and to shape clouds for every need and season. She grew more confident with each passing day, her hands nimble and sure, her heart open to the world's quiet wishes. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky deepened to a rich indigo, Oren gathered Lila and Mira by the window. The air was crisp and clear, and a hush had settled over the floating island. "Tonight is special," Oren said, his voice low and reverent. "It's the night of shooting stars. Once a year, the sky is filled with falling stars, and the world below is full of wishes." Lila's eyes widened with wonder. She had heard stories of shooting stars, but she had never seen them from so high above the world. Mira smiled, her eyes sparkling. "It's a night for dreamers and wish-makers, and for cloud-makers, it's the busiest night of all." Oren led them to the rooftop garden, a quiet space filled with moonflowers and silvery grasses that glowed in the starlight. From here, the sky seemed endless, a vast ocean of midnight blue. Lila wrapped herself in a soft blanket and gazed upward, her heart fluttering with anticipation. The first shooting star streaked across the sky, leaving a trail of silver light. Then another and another, until the heavens were alive with falling stars. Each one, Oren explained, carried a wish from someone below, a hope, a dream, a longing whispered to the night. Mira set up a special work table beneath the open sky. "Tonight we make wish clouds," she said, "clouds that catch the wishes of the world and carry them safely across the sky." Lila watched as Mira gathered a handful of starlight mist, its glow soft and ethereal. Oren added a pinch of midnight dew, and together they spun the mist into a delicate, shimmering thread. Lila joined in, her fingers moving with practiced ease, her heart full of wonder. As they worked, the shooting stars continued to fall, each one a silent promise. Lila listened to the wind, hearing the wishes carried on its breath, a child hoping for a friend, a farmer wishing for rain, a traveler longing for home. She shaped her wish cloud with care, brushing it into a gentle, rounded form. She imagined it drifting through the night, gathering wishes like pearls and carrying them to the farthest corners of the world. When the cloud was finished, Mira handed Lila a tiny silver bell. "And ring this as you release your cloud," she said. "It will help the wishes find their way." Lila carried her wish cloud to the edge of the rooftop, the bell trembling in her hand. She closed her eyes and made a wish of her own, a wish for kindness, for hope, for dreams to come true. Then she rang the bell, its clear note rising into the night, and released the cloud into the sky. The wish cloud floated upward, catching the light of the shooting stars. It shimmered and sparkled, growing brighter with every wish it gathered. Lila watched until it was just a glimmer among the stars, her heart full of joy. Oren and Mira released their own wish clouds, each one unique and beautiful. The sky was soon filled with drifting clouds, each one carrying the hopes of the world. As the night wore on, Lila lay back on the soft grass, watching the dance of stars and clouds. She felt a deep sense of peace, knowing she was part of something magical and important. Mira sat beside her, her voice soft and gentle. "The world is full of wishes, Lila. Some are small, some are grand, but all are precious. Cloudmakers help carry those wishes, even if we never know where they land." Lila nodded, her eyes growing heavy with sleep. She listened to the wind, to the distant chime of bells, and to the quiet song of the stars. That night, as she drifted into dreams, Lila felt the wishes of the world swirling around her, gentle and bright as the clouds she had made. The morning after the night of shooting stars dawned soft and silver, with a gentle mist curling around the floating island. Lila awoke feeling peaceful, her dreams still lingering like the last notes of a lullaby. She stretched and wandered to the window, where she saw Oren and Mira already at work, their voices low and thoughtful. As Lila joined them, she noticed a new kind of cloud taking shape on the work table. It was not bright or sparkling like the wish clouds, but soft and pearly, with shifting colors that seemed to hold echoes of laughter and music. Oren smiled as Lila approached. "Good morning, little Cloudmaker. Today, we're making a cloud of memories." Lila tilted her head, curious. "What's a cloud of memories?" Mira answered, her hands gently shaping the mist. "Sometimes people below feel lonely or lost. They need a reminder of happy times, of loved ones, or of moments that made them smile. A cloud of memories drifts quietly above them, and when they look up, it helps them remember the good things they carry in their hearts." Lila watched as Mira added a drop of golden morning dew and a wisp of laughter, captured in a tiny glass vial. Orin spun the mist into a gentle spiral, and together they shaped the cloud into a soft, billowing form. "Would you like to add a memory, Lila?" Orin asked, offering her a small, clear crystal. Lila thought for a moment, then closed her eyes and remembered a day in her garden at home. Her mother's laughter, the scent of blooming flowers, the warmth of sunlight on her face. She breathed out, letting the memory fill the crystal, which glowed softly in her hand. She placed the crystal in the heart of the cloud, and it shimmered with a gentle light. Mira smiled. "That's perfect, Lila. Now your memory will drift across the sky, bringing comfort to someone who needs it." They finished the cloud of memories together, adding tiny threads of music and the scent of fresh bread, a memory from Orin's own childhood. When the cloud was ready, they carried it to the window and released it into the morning breeze. Lila watched as the cloud floated away, its colors shifting and changing in the light. She imagined it passing over a sleepy village, a quiet park, or a bustling city, and she hoped it would bring a smile to someone looking up at the sky. Afterward, Mira showed Lila how to record the cloud of memories in the Cloud Atlas. They drew its soft, swirling shape and wrote down the memories they had added, so the story of the cloud would never be forgotten. As the day went on, Lila found herself thinking about the memories she carried, some happy, some bittersweet, all precious. She realized that every cloud she made was a way of sharing a piece of herself with the world. Later, as the sun began to set, Orin gathered Lila and Mira by the window. The sky was painted with soft pastels, and the clouds drifted lazily on the evening breeze. "Cloud-making is more than a craft," Orin said quietly. "It's a way of connecting hearts, of reminding people that they are never truly alone. Every cloud carries a story, a wish, a memory, and every story matters." Lila nodded, feeling the truth of his words deep in her heart. She looked out at the sky, knowing that somewhere, someone was looking up and finding comfort in a cloud she had helped create. That night, as she lay in her bed, Lila thought of all the memories drifting through the sky, of laughter, of love, of hope. She felt a gentle peace settle over her, and she drifted into sleep, dreaming of clouds and the stories they carried. The next morning, the workshop was filled with a quiet anticipation. The sky outside was a deep, shifting gray, and the wind carried the scent of rain and distant thunder. Lila noticed that Orin was more thoughtful than usual, his eyes often drifting to the horizon. After breakfast, Mira gathered Lila at the work table. "Today, we'll learn about storm clouds," she said, her tone gentle but serious. "Storm clouds are powerful and important. They bring rain to thirsty lands, but they can also be fierce. It takes a steady heart to make them." Orin joined them, carrying a heavy, dark jar labeled Thunder Mist. He set it on the table with care. "Storm clouds are different from the gentle clouds we've made before," he explained. "They need strength, balance, and respect. Too much energy, and they can become wild. Too little, and they fade before their work is done." Lila listened closely as Orin and Mira began the process. They opened the jar, and a cool electric mist swirled out, crackling softly with tiny sparks. Mira handed Lila a pair of silver gloves. "These will help you shape the storm mist safely," she said. Lila slipped on the gloves, feeling a gentle tingle in her fingertips. Orin showed her how to gather the storm mist, spinning it into a thick, strong thread. The mist was heavier than any she'd worked with before, and it hummed with hidden energy. "Storm clouds need a core of calm," Orin said, placing a small, glowing stone at the center of the cloud. "This keeps the storm balanced, so it brings rain without harm." Mira added a few drops of lightning dew, which sparkled and fizzed as it touched the mist. Lila watched in awe as the cloud began to take shape, dark and powerful, yet beautiful in its own way. As they worked, Orin told Lila about the Stormmaker's secret. Long ago, there was a Cloudmaker who could calm even the wildest storms. She discovered that every storm cloud has a heart, a quiet place at its center where peace lives. If you can find that heart, you can guide the storm, no matter how fierce it seems. Lila nodded, her hands steady as she shaped the cloud. She listened for the quiet heart within the swirling mist, and soon she felt it, a gentle pulse, like the beat of a drum far away. She brushed the cloud carefully, adding swirls and eddies to guide the energy. Mira smiled, watching her work. "You have a gift, Lila. Not everyone can find the heart of a storm." When the storm cloud was finished, it hovered above the table, dark and full of promise. Orin opened the window, and together they released the cloud into the sky. It drifted away, gathering strength as it went, until it joined a line of storm clouds on the horizon. Lila watched, feeling a mix of pride and awe. She knew that somewhere below, fields and rivers would be renewed by the rain, and that the storm would bring life as well as thunder. Afterward, Orin showed Lila a special page in the Cloud Atlas reserved for storm clouds. They drew the cloud they had made, noting the balance of mist and dew, and writing down the secret of the storm's heart. As the day faded into evening, the first drops of rain began to fall on the floating island. Lila stood by the window, listening to the gentle patter on the roof, feeling the peace at the heart of the storm. Mira joined her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "You did well today, Lila. Storm clouds are the hardest to make, but also the most rewarding. You brought rain to the world, and you did it with care." Lila smiled, her heart full. She watched the rain fall, knowing she had learned something important, not just about clouds, but about finding calm in the midst of any storm. That night, as thunder rumbled softly in the distance, Lila drifted into sleep, dreaming of wild clouds and the quiet heart that guided them. That night, as she drifted into sleep, Lila dreamed of rainbows arching across endless skies, and of the quiet promise that every new day would bring beauty and hope. The days grew longer and warmer on the floating island, and the air was filled with the scent of blooming sky flowers. Lila noticed that Orin and Mira seemed busier than ever, sorting through jars of mist, polishing the windows, and hanging garlands of tiny, puffy clouds around the workshop. One morning, as Lila finished shaping a cloud shaped like a butterfly, Orin announced, "It's almost time for the Festival of Clouds." Lila's eyes sparkled with excitement. "What's the Festival of Clouds?" Mira smiled, her hands busy tying ribbons to a basket of cloudlets. "It's a celebration for all the Cloudmakers. Once a year, we gather to share our best creations, tell stories, and send our most beautiful clouds into the sky together." Orin nodded. "Cloudmakers from every corner of the world will visit. Some you've met in your dreams, others you'll meet for the first time. It's a time of joy, friendship, and wonder." The days leading up to the festival were filled with happy bustle. Lila helped Mira bake sweet cloudberry tarts and decorate the garden with strings of glowing lanterns. Orin showed her how to polish the cloud atlas, its cover shining like new. On the morning of the festival, the floating island was alive with excitement. The sky was a brilliant blue, and the air shimmered with anticipation. One by one, other cloudmakers arrived, each bringing a basket of their finest clouds. Some came on floating islands like Orin's. Others arrived on gentle breezes or riding on the backs of great, friendly birds. Lila was amazed by the variety of cloudmakers, tall and short, young and old, each with their own style and stories. Some wore robes of swirling mist, others had hats shaped like thunderheads or cloaks that sparkled with dew. The festival began with a parade of clouds. Each cloudmaker presented their most special creation, a cloud shaped like a dragon that breathed gentle rain, a cloud that glowed with the colors of the northern lights, a cloud that played a soft lullaby as it drifted by. Luila's heart swelled with pride as she presented her own heart-shaped cloud, the one she had made with Orin and Mira. The other cloudmakers admired its gentle glow and the warmth it seemed to carry. After the parade, everyone gathered in the garden for a feast. There were cloudberry tarts, sunbeam cakes, and cups of sparkling dew. Lila listened to stories of cloud-making from distant lands, of clouds that brought snow to mountain villages, of clouds that carried messages across the sea, of clouds that inspired artists and dreamers. As the sun began to set, Orin stood and raised his glass. To all cloudmakers, and to the beauty we bring to the world, may our clouds always carry hope, comfort, and wonder. Everyone cheered, and Mira led them in a song that drifted up into the sky, soft and sweet as a summer breeze. The festival ended with the grand release. All the cloudmakers gathered at the edge of the island, each holding their special cloud. Together, they released them into the evening sky, where they drifted and danced, catching the last light of the sun. Lila watched as her heart-shaped cloud joined the others, floating high above the world. The sky was filled with clouds of every shape and color, a tapestry of dreams and wishes. As the stars began to appear, the cloudmakers said their goodbyes, promising to meet again next year. Lila felt a deep sense of belonging, knowing she was part of a family that stretched across the sky. That night, as she lay in bed, Lila listened to the gentle hum of the workshop and the distant laughter of the departing cloudmakers. She felt grateful for the friends she had made, the clouds she had shaped, and the magic she had found in the sky. She drifted into sleep, dreaming of next year's festival and of all the clouds yet to be made. The days after the Festival of Clouds felt quieter, but a gentle happiness lingered in the air. Lila found herself thinking about all the cloudmakers she had met and the stories they had shared. She felt inspired to try something new, something she had never done before. One afternoon, as a soft breeze played with the curtains, Lila approached Orin and Mira at the work table. "I wanted to make a special cloud," she said, her voice steady. "A cloud for someone who needs courage." Orin looked at her with pride. "That's a wonderful idea, Lila. Courage is something everyone needs, especially when facing something new or difficult." Mira nodded, her eyes kind. A cloud of courage can help someone find strength inside themselves, even when they feel afraid. They began by gathering the right ingredients. Orin brought out a jar of mountain mist, collected from the highest peaks where the air was thin and clear. "Mountain mist is strong and steady," he explained. "It's perfect for a cloud that gives courage." Mira added a pinch of sunrise light, golden and warm. "Sunrise is the start of a new day, full of hope and possibility," she said. "It reminds us that we can begin again, no matter what happened yesterday." Leela thought about what courage felt like to her. She remembered a time when she had been afraid to try something new. But a friend's kind words had helped her find the strength to keep going. She wanted her cloud to carry that same feeling. She spun the mountain mist into a sturdy thread, her hands sure and steady. Oren showed her how to weave the thread into a bold, uplifting shape, like a bird with outstretched wings, ready to soar. Mira brushed the cloud with sunrise light, making it glow softly from within. For the final touch, Lila added a tiny feather she found in the garden, tucking it into the heart of the cloud. "For bravery," she whispered, thinking of all the people who might look up and see her cloud and feel a little braver themselves. When the cloud of courage was finished, it looked strong and bright, with a gentle golden glow and a shape that seemed to lift itself higher with every breeze. They carried the cloud to the window, where the sky was a clear, endless blue. Lila closed her eyes and made a wish. "May this cloud help someone find the courage they need, wherever they are." She released the cloud, and it soared upward, catching the sunlight and shining like a beacon. Lila watched as it drifted away, her heart full of hope. Afterward, they recorded the cloud of courage in the Cloud Atlas, drawing its bold shape and writing its story. A cloud to help anyone who needs a little extra bravery. That evening, as the sun set and the sky turned to gold, Leela sat quietly in the garden, thinking about courage. She realized that sometimes courage was as simple as trying something new, or asking for help, or believing in yourself even when you were afraid. Oren joined her, his voice gentle. "You've made a difference today, Lila. Sometimes the smallest cloud can bring the greatest strength." Lila smiled, feeling a quiet pride. She knew that somewhere someone would look up and see her cloud and feel just a little bit braver. That night, as she drifted into sleep, Leela dreamed of soaring birds and golden clouds, and of the courage that lives in every heart. The next morning, Lila awoke to a gentle tapping at her window. She sat up, rubbing her eyes, and saw a tiny, delicate cloud hovering just outside the glass. It shimmered with a faint silver light and seemed to be waiting for her. Curious, Lila opened the window. The little cloud floated in, circling her head like a friendly bird. It made a soft, whispering sound, almost like it was trying to speak. Lila giggled and reached out her hand. The cloud settled onto her palm, cool and light as a feather. She listened closely, and to her amazement, she heard a faint voice, soft as a sigh, gentle as a breeze. "Hello, Lila," the cloud whispered. "I am a whispering cloud. I carry messages from the world below." Lila's eyes widened in wonder. She hurried to find Oren and Mira, the little cloud floating beside her like a loyal companion. Oren smiled when he saw the cloud. "Ah, a whispering cloud. They are rare visitors. Sometimes, when someone below has a wish or a message that needs to reach the sky, a whispering cloud will find its way to us." Mira nodded, her eyes shining. They listen to the quietest hopes and the softest dreams. If you listen carefully, you can hear what the world is asking for. Lila cupped the cloud in her hands and listened again. The whisper grew clearer, and she heard a child's voice, full of longing. "I wish I could see my friend again. I miss her so much." Lila's heart ached with empathy. She looked at Oren and Mira. Can we help? Oren nodded. We can make a cloud that carries comfort, a cloud that reminds people they are never truly apart from those they love. They gathered at the work table, the whispering cloud hovering nearby, its silver light pulsing gently. Mira brought out a jar of moonlit mist, soft and soothing. Oren added a drop of starlight dew which glimmered with hope. Leela spun the mist into a gentle, swirling thread, her hands moving slowly and thoughtfully. She shaped the cloud into two interlocking circles, like friends holding hands. Mira brushed it with a touch of lavender for calm, and Oren added a tiny charm shaped like a heart. As they worked, the whispering cloud drifted closer, its whispers growing softer, as if it was watching the new cloud take shape. When they finished, the comfort cloud glowed with a gentle, reassuring light. Lila carried the cloud to the window, the whispering cloud following close behind. She released the comfort cloud into the sky, watching as it drifted downward, carried by a gentle breeze. The whispering cloud hovered for a moment, then circled Lila's head once more. "Thank you," it whispered, its voice full of gratitude. "You have answered a wish." With that, the whispering cloud floated out the window, following the comfort cloud as it made its way to the world below. Lila watched until both clouds disappeared from sight, her heart full of warmth and wonder. She realized that sometimes the quietest wishes were the most important, and that even a small cloud could bring great comfort. Later, they recorded the comfort cloud in the Cloud Atlas, drawing its interlocking circles and writing the story of the whispering cloud that brought a message from below. That evening, as the stars began to twinkle, Leela sat by her window, listening for whispers on the wind. She knew that as long as she listened with her heart, she would always hear the wishes of the world. That night, she dreamed of silver clouds and gentle voices, and of the comfort that comes from knowing you are never truly alone. The following day dawned bright and breezy, with sunlight streaming through the windows and the scent of fresh bread wafting from the kitchen. Leela felt light-hearted as she joined Oren and Mira at the breakfast table, where they shared stories and laughter over warm slices of cloudberry toast. After breakfast, Mira suggested, "Let's make a cloud that brings joy today. The world below could always use a little more laughter." Oren agreed, his eyes twinkling. A cloud of laughter is a rare and special thing. It's not easy to capture the feeling, but when you do, it can lift the spirits of everyone who sees it. Lila's heart leapt at the idea. She remembered times when laughter had made even the hardest days brighter, and she wanted to share that feeling with the world. They began by gathering the right ingredients. Mira brought out a jar of sunbeam mist, which sparkled with golden flecks and seemed to giggle when the lid was opened. Oren added a pinch of tickle dust collected from the feathers of skybirds, and Lila fetched a vial of giggle dew which bubbled and fizzed with every movement. As they worked, the workshop filled with a sense of playfulness. Lila spun the sunbeam mist into a light, bouncy thread, her hands moving quickly and easily. Mira sprinkled the tickle dust, and Oren added drops of giggle dew, each one releasing a tiny, joyful sound. Lila shaped the cloud into a cluster of round, puffy shapes that bounced and jostled each other, like children playing in a field. She added a swirl at the top, so the cloud would twirl and dance as it floated through the sky. As they finished, the cloud of laughter began to shimmer and shake, releasing a soft musical chuckle that filled the workshop with happiness. Even the jars on the shelves seemed to smile, and the lanterns swayed as if joining in the fun. Orin laughed out loud, wiping a tear from his eye. That's the spirit. This cloud will bring smiles wherever it goes. They carried the cloud of laughter to the window, and Lila released it into the bright morning air. The cloud bounced and twirled, leaving a trail of sparkling giggles behind it. As it drifted away, Lila imagined children below looking up and laughing, their worries forgotten for a moment. Afterward, they recorded the cloud of laughter in the Cloud Atlas, drawing its playful shape and writing about the joy it carried. Lila felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing she had helped create something that would bring happiness to others. The rest of the day was filled with laughter and lightness. Mira taught Lila a silly song, and Orin told stories that made them all giggle. Even the wind seemed to join in, whistling a cheerful tune as it danced around the island.
That evening, as the sun set in a blaze of orange and pink, Lila sat by the window, watching the cloud of laughter drift across the sky. She thought about all the people who might look up and smile, and she felt a quiet joy in her heart. As she drifted off to sleep, Lila dreamed of clouds that danced and sang, and of laughter that echoed across the sky, bringing light to every corner of the world.
The days on the floating island began to grow shorter, and the air took on a gentle crispness that hinted at the coming of autumn. Lila noticed the sky flowers closing earlier each evening, and the clouds she and her friends made seemed to drift a little slower, as if savoring the last golden days of the season. One morning, as Lila helped Orin polish the Cloud Atlas, she felt a quiet tug in her heart, a sense that her time in the workshop was drawing to a close. She looked out the window at the world below, where the forests were turning gold and amber, and wondered what it would be like to return home. Orin must have sensed her thoughts, for he set down his polishing cloth and smiled gently. Every Cloudmaker's journey brings them back to where they began, Lila. The world below needs you, just as the sky needed you here. Mira joined them, her eyes warm and understanding. What? You've learned so much, and you've given so many gifts to the sky. Now it's time to share your heart and your stories with those waiting for you at home. Lila felt a swirl of emotions, gratitude, sadness, excitement, and hope. She realized she would miss the workshop, the gentle hum of cloud making, and the friends she had made. But she also knew she was ready for whatever came next. Together they prepared for her farewell. Orin baked a loaf of bread filled with sunbeam seeds, and Mira wove a small charm from threads of mist and dew, a keepsake for Lila to carry with her always. They made one last cloud together, a soft, glowing cloud shaped like a feather to guide Lila safely home. On her final morning, the workshop was filled with a gentle, golden light. Lila hugged Orin and Mira tightly, promising to remember everything they had taught her. "Whenever you look up at the sky," Orin said, "know that we are thinking of you, and if you ever need us, just listen to the wind." Mira pressed the misty charm into Lila's hand. "You are a Cloudmaker now, Lila. The world is full of stories waiting for you to find them." With a deep breath, Lila stepped outside. The feather-shaped cloud hovered at her side, glowing softly. She climbed onto its back, feeling the cool mist beneath her and the warmth of the sun on her face. As the cloud lifted her gently into the sky, Lila looked back at the workshop one last time. Orin and Mira waved from the garden, their faces full of pride and love. The floating island grew smaller and smaller until it was just a glimmer among the clouds. Lila drifted down through the sky, past rainbows and sunbeams, past the clouds she had helped create. She saw the world below, fields and forests, rivers and towns, all waiting for her return. When her cloud finally touched down in a quiet meadow near her home, Lila stepped off, her heart full of memories and dreams. She looked up at the sky where the clouds drifted peacefully and smiled. She knew she would never forget the Cloudmaker's workshop or the friends she had made there. And she knew that wherever she went, she would carry a piece of the sky with her, spinning hope, comfort, and wonder into every day. That night, as Lila lay in her own bed, she listened to the wind outside her window. It carried the softest whisper, like a lullaby from above. "We are always with you, little Cloudmaker." And as she drifted into sleep, Lila dreamed of clouds, of laughter, courage, and love, knowing that her story, like every cloud, would travel far and touch many hearts.